Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent.
Line's good.
Got real close.
I hear high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott, socially distancing as always. Hello, Scott.
As always. Hello, Sean. I'm happy to be here today.
That's good. Always a pleasure to talk to you there, Scotty, even though we haven't seen each other in a few months.
Yeah, I was out yesterday and I parked my car near your house, and I thought, oh, maybe I should see if Sean's home and wave to him from his front door. But no, I had important work to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I went into the office yesterday. It's been 8 weeks, and I really needed a change of scenery.
Yeah, totally fair.
So I was able to get some things done and get some documents and stuff. So overall, a good day, and my batteries are recharged.
That's good. Certainly, we all need that with everything going on, and weather starting to turn here a little bit in the nation's capital. Beautiful day here on a Wednesday as the sun is out. I live near the Rideau Canal. They've shut down the road that runs alongside the Rideau Canal for a couple kilometer stretch. Really, a lot of folks out and about soaking in that sunshine today as we get ready for the May long weekend.
Right, it's a long weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. When do you go camping with Aaron, or go to his cabin?
No, Aaron goes camping on the long weekend. My buddy Aaron Boyce, he goes camping with some friends of his. They go down just across the border there in New York State and do a weekend camping on the long weekend all the time. Obviously not so much this year. So he's actually planning to do a tent in the backyard and do some home camping. He lives out in the country with his daughter and his wife.
Wow. Right on. Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm asking because I read all of your brackets.
Oh, yeah.
Up till now. I got a couple bones to pick.
Sure.
But no big deal. But today is the bracket of brackets.
The bracket of brackets, yeah. So after 7 years and 10 brackets, what we do is we look at a year from 100 years ago and review the most important events from that year. As professional historians, we like to take the historic perspective we have. And today, as we drop this Wednesday, May 14th, I think, is the day, and we did a Winners at War bracket where we took the 10 winners from the 1910s that we've done and put them all against each other to determine the most important event of the 1910s. So we don't know if this is the end of that series, but it was kind of fun to put them all against each other, revisit some of these things that we haven't talked about in 7 years, and throw them all together. So it was a lot of fun today.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hope binder clips don't come up anymore.
Well, we ranked we did rank them all from 1 to 10, and okay. I will say that binder clip did get the number 10 ranking.
Very good.
Yeah, so if anyone's curious about that, you can head on over to activehistory.ca. Check that out. It's the year in review, 100 years later, Winners at War edition. And for anybody who's accusing us of using the Survivor finale tonight to hopefully get some extra SEO clicks, my answer to you is you're correct.
That's right. Yeah. I used to tag our podcast episodes with Game of Thrones. So
yeah, why not? Why not?
Just in case.
Yeah. So today we have a fun show for you. We are going to look back, Scott, at one of my favorite shows. I would argue, and certainly this is going to be because of how old I am, that this is the greatest Canadian television series of all time. And we're going to look at a specific episode of Corner Gas, Scott.
Yeah, Sean, Corner Gas is one of those things that when I tell my friends I like it, they're always confused. But to me, it's so funny.
It's so good.
There's so many jokes. Watching the episode today that we're going to talk about, I laughed out loud alone in my apartment at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's a wonderful show. So anybody who doesn't know, any of our American friends or European friends or wherever you're listening from, if you're unfamiliar with the show, it is set in Dog River, Saskatchewan, which is a fictional town, but it was shot on location in Rollo, Saskatchewan, which is close-ish to Regina, so it's in the southern part of the province. The town was selected, Scott, I don't know if you know this, because it was small enough that, so it wasn't it's not a huge place. It has, though, the railway right there. It had a sufficient spot to build the sets. And most crucially, it still had a grain elevator. That was one of the key factors in selecting the town where they were going to shoot. It had to have a grain elevator.
Yes, Sean, I did know that. And it is a beautiful grain elevator. And I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it's still there and it still says Dog River on it.
Last time I looked it up, yeah, that was still true.
Yeah, so obviously given the name Dog River for the show, but so there's so many episodes, there's 6 seasons, Sean. It's available in Canada on Crave TV.
Yep.
So if anybody, we're going to talk about the curling episode. Surprise, surprise.
Shocker.
So if anybody wants to go away, watch the episode, come back, that's fine. But I think what we're gonna try and describe it so that if you can't see it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, we're gonna go through blow by blow, talk about what happened in this episode, one of 107 episodes in the series history. Then they did a feature film in 2014, and they have started doing Corner Gas animated as well. In the past couple of years, it was a little cheaper to do, but the essence and the spirit of the show is still there. Basic premise of the show, 8 key characters. You have Oscar and Emma, and they are a married couple. Oscar is retired, used to work at the gas station. Brent, his son, now owns the gas station and runs it. Wanda is the employee of the gas station, who is kind of a smart alecky character, sort of the acid tongue, if you will, of the show. You have Lacey, who is the outsider. She's from Toronto, who has come in and runs the coffee shop, which was her Aunt Ruby's, and now it's called the Ruby. Hank, who is kind of like the Kramer of the series, doesn't really seem to have a job, but is always around and never seems to have financial difficulties. He's sort of there. And then Karen and Davis are the 2 police officers for Dog River. They represent the entirety of the Dog River Police Department. So those are your 8 key characters in the show.
Yeah, it's rare for a sitcom to have 8 full characters, right? We see 6 all the time. Obviously Friends. We see it in Seinfeld has 4, but having building it out to 8 characters gives them flexibility to team up different people with each other throughout, and I think leads to some good chemistry throughout the show.
Yeah, essentially you don't have 8 storylines. Usually you'll have 3 or 4 storylines. I would say often 4, and the characters are coupled up in some format. Obviously Emma and Oscar do a lot together. Brent and Wanda have a lot of overlapping things. Karen and Davis, just because of sort of the nature of where they work and their relationships. But yeah, you will see sort of cross discussion across the groups. But yeah, they do tend to be coupled in the storylines of the show. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to set up this episode.
Yeah, go for it.
So the episode starts, we have a cold open, which is the scene that comes before the credits. We open on Brent and Hank sitting in the diner, yelling "Hurry hard" for some reason.
Yeah.
They tell Lacey they're practicing for curling season. So the first question I have for you, Sean, is: have you ever practiced your yelling for curling season?
I've never practiced my yelling for curling season. But what we know about Brent, he's not the biggest gym rat in the world. This is probably the most work he's ever done. Yeah,
maybe. So, they tell Lacey they're getting ready for curling season, and curling season in Dog River seems to be one bonspiel that happens.
Yeah, at a giant club.
Yeah. So a little bit about some of the production stuff. This episode aired in January. It was January 17th of 2005.
Okay.
But all the filming for Corner Gas famously is done in the summer.
Yep.
They had one episode set at Christmas time, but the rest of them are all summertime shows. So it's sort of weird because you see exterior shots of the curling rink and it's sunny and there's grass and the trees are all nice and green.
Yeah, they didn't think, well, let's do tight shots when we're outside. They're like, nah, the hell with it. It's the middle of the summer. We're putting the camera here and you're seeing the background, damn it.
Yeah, I'm looking at a photo on cornergas.com's walking tour.
Yeah.
So they show the curling rink and Davis and Karen are outside. And yeah, you've got the green trees sort of behind his car and lots of green grass.
Yeah.
So not exactly curling weather, but
No.
you know, it's time. The big Bonspiel's coming up. Brent has always played with his parents.
Yep.
And this year Brent says, you know, I think I'd like to be the skip this year.
Oh yeah, hold on. Before we get to that, there's 2 Easter eggs in the diner scene that I want to know if you noticed either of these. But I thought both of these were hilarious. The first is the special on the board.
No, I didn't see this.
The special, Scott, is a club sandwich with French fries. Have you ever gone into a diner and they haven't had a club sandwich on the menu?
I guess I can't say I've really thought about it.
Like, I was floored by this. I had to rewind it to make sure I was actually seeing that the special in a diner was a club sandwich. This was insane to me.
Well, maybe they just mean like, oh, that's the special deal today.
Maybe. I thought that was strange. The other thing that I thought was really funny, this is a great acting choice. Hank is the one who's ordered a coffee.
Yes.
And he grabs the sugar. It's like a diner sugar dispenser thing, one of the glass ones. And he just holds it upside down over his coffee for the rest of the scene. It's at least a minute, and he just holds it. It's brilliant.
There's a continuity error in this noted on IMDb.
Uh-oh, what's that?
That he starts pouring sugar into his coffee. The sugar runs out, and in the next scene, the sugar is refilled again as he continues to pour. So it seems like maybe he ran out of sugar, and then the camera cut away.
Yeah, because he was just holding it over the cup of coffee.
That's very good. That's very Hank.
Yeah, very good acting choice. So, yeah, so that's the cold open. Then we go to the theme song, and then, yes, now we're in the gas station that Brent owns, Scott.
Yeah, and Brent is telling his dad, you know, Dad, you know, you're pretty old. You've been skipping for a long time. I kind of think that I should skip this year. And Oscar says no and asks, why would you want to skip? And Brent says, oh, I've got some new ideas, you know. Maybe we'd be able to win some games.
Yeah, I got some strategy.
Yeah, new strategies he wants to try out. At which point they ask Wanda, hey, Wanda, like, what's our record? Do you remember what their record as a team was?
Yes, the record as a team was 287-1. The 2 wins were by default, and their tie was against a grade 3 class.
Yeah, a grade 3 class. So
it's brilliant.
So I have some questions about this record. This is obviously over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
But is this just for the Bonspiel, where they play once a year?
It's entirely possible that, you know, you've been playing in a Bonspiel 3 games, maybe 4 games. Although that 4 doesn't go into 90, does it?
No, it's got to be 3, right?
So they've been doing this for 30 years?
Yeah.
As a team?
I guess so.
But why would they have played a grade 3 class? And how do you get a default in the Bonspiel?
All good questions.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not certainly not an ideal record.
Not ideal.
Although we know that Oscar's cheap, so maybe his strategy is actually to lose games so he doesn't have to buy drinks. Although, as I say that, from my time living in Regina, that's not a thing there.
Interesting. They, a colleague of mine actually sent me a video this week, Sean, about, it's a spoof from 22 Minutes of the Canada Heritage Moments.
Uh-huh.
And it's the first time that a guy figured out if you lost, you got free beer in curling.
That should be a Heritage Minute.
It shows the guy like, and it's, if you just make this one shot, you win. And he throws it like to the side.
Oh man. The other thing, Scott, we learned in this is that Emma still uses a corn broom and sweeps with a corn broom.
Yeah, and she says it's because she likes the thwacka thwacka sound.
Yeah. Very interesting. And that's a little strange if she likes the sound. The synthetic one of the same shape makes a better noise.
It does, yes.
So a slight continuity issue there.
Well, as we'll see, I'm not sure they're expert curlers.
No, they are not. So then we head over to the police station where Davis is getting out the cherished Clavet Cup, which is, did I say that right?
The Clavet Cup.
Clavet Cup, excuse me, with Karen. They're, of course, partners at the police station. And Davis tells the story of Archie Clavet.
Archie Clavet, yeah.
And he says that Archie was such a good curler that he could draw a cup of coffee to the button without spilling a drop. And one, what? Two, how is that a skill?
Well, it's just you've got the delicate touch.
I mean, okay, but physics is still a thing.
Yeah, physics is still a thing. But, that's exaggerate when you're telling good stories, right?
Yes. So Davis pulls out this trophy. Karen says you can get 2 of those for $10 in the city.
Yeah, and he says no, and he's got his white gloves on to handle it. It's very much a play on the Stanley Cup keepers,
Yeah, 100%.
Those guys, their job is to guard the cup, and they've got the white gloves. So he's taking it very, very seriously until he gets a phone call.
Yes. Well, actually, this is a different scene. You're going all over the place, Scott.
I know. I didn't write scene by scene.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I got notes. Scene by scene. You know why you probably didn't go scene by scene? Do you want to guess how many scenes there are in this 22-minute show?
There's a lot. There's probably like 15,
There's
18?
29 scenes in a 22-minute show.
Wow. Now, Seinfeld was the first one to start doing these multiple scenes, right?
Yeah. Just jumping all over the place, yeah.
Because it used to be a 3-camera sitcom. You'd have, maybe 2 scenes before a commercial break. But they started fast cutting.
Yeah, so that's what the show's great at. It's just in and out, constantly going and churning, which is also why it's so expensive to produce, is that they're doing so many scenes. So Karen is disinterested. Then we jump back to the gas station where Brent uses a weird Jerry Maguire reference to get Wanda on his team. So now it's Wanda and Brent against his parents, Oscar and Emma.
That's right. And so now they need to fill out the rest of their team rosters.
Yes. So
and this is setting up the central conflict of the episode.
Yes. So we jump from the gas station over to the diner. This is a brilliant scene, I think, Scott. I didn't count a couple cutaways in my scenes.
Right.
Just the actual scene proper. Brent is talking to Hank, trying to get him onto the team. Hank, we find out, Scott, is responsible for the ice at the curling club. There's a beautiful cutaway of Hank putting on goggles, and he's got it's almost like a sword, and we find out that he's just getting ready to pebble the ice.
Yes. The way he pumps to get the pressure up in the pebble head.
Yeah.
Oh boy. It's a thing of beauty. And then he starts pebbling, and his pebbling form, I would say, Shorty Jenkins didn't tell him that.
Yeah, he's walking to like the sideboards.
And he's kind of like on his tiptoes, sort of dancing backwards.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's great. So Hank says, I don't think I can play with you because I take care of the ice. People might accuse me of pebbling the ice in your favor. Brent says, no one would ever do that. cue Oscar to say he can't be on your team. He'll pebble the ice in your favor. Now, Scott, you've pebbled ice before.
Sure have.
Is it possible, if you know the teams and their strengths, to pebble ice in favor of a particular team?
I think if you've got a team that is maybe doesn't throw very hard, if you lay down a real heavy pebble,
Yeah.
you might make them disadvantaged. But I think that the real knowledge of the pebbling pattern that's important is sort of the beginning of the day pebble.
Okay.
Between draws when you're pebbling on pebble, I don't think it really matters.
All right. So this concern isn't really founded in anything.
It's not founded in anything, but I'm not surprised that Oscar is concerned about it.
Right. So Hank takes offense that Oscar thinks he would cheat. He's going to join Brent's team. So now we have Brent with Wanda, now with Hank. Now we cut back to the police station, Scott, and Davis gets a phone call. He
is super jacked up about guarding the Clivet Cup, but all of a sudden he gets a phone call and he says, "Oh, yeah." And then he says to Karen, "Oh, Karen, I was wrong to make fun of you, to say that you couldn't guard the Clivet Cup. I really think you can, and I'd like you to do it." And she says, "Well, what do you mean?" And it's revealed that he's going to play on Oscar and Emma's team.
Yeah.
Now,
it's sort of queued up for that. But one thing I thought was curious, he says to Karen, "You can guard the cup. Bring it to the arena on Saturday at noon." And
Yes.
This is a bond spiel. Now, Scott, you've played in a lot of spiels. I've played in some spiels. Has there ever been a bond spiel in which the trophy was awarded either at or after the noon game on Saturday?
No.
It makes no sense. And also later in the show, Emma says we only need them for one day. So wait, this is a 1-day bond spiel that is ending around noon? What?
It seems to me like it's definitely a 1-day bond spiel. He said, bring it at noon. That gave her time to, as we'll find out later, for her to lose it and then get it back.
So you don't think that's happening first thing in the morning?
No.
Okay.
But so the timeline's all messed up.
Yeah, a little bit.
But maybe bring it to the rink, then the players can see it and they say, "Oh, that's my goal."
Yeah, but you don't want it on display because everyone's going to be pawing at it, as Davis has established. They want their picture with it. They want to touch it. You don't want this thing just out and about during the whole event.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But Davis also says, "Boy, I've always wanted to play in the Bonspiel for the Clivet Cup, and has apparently never been able to do it before, and is now able to by virtue of a team who has never won a game."
Yeah.
Asking him to play on their team.
Yeah.
It seems to me like it probably wouldn't be that hard an event to enter.
No, it seems like everybody in town can enter it.
But maybe he just never had a team to play with.
Right. Because, his only friends really already are on teams.
Yeah, okay.
And Karen doesn't seem to play.
Karen doesn't seem to play, no.
Yeah,
it seems like Karen doesn't seem to care about curling.
No.
And as we'll find out, Lacey doesn't seem to care about curling either.
Right.
Any problem with that? Any problem with the outsiders that come to the community?
No, totally makes sense. Yeah. The two people
Okay.
who aren't from here don't really care about what's going on, think it's kind of weird. Totally makes sense. Totally fits within the canon of the show.
Okay.
Yeah, so Davis gets the call. We jump over to Emma and Oscar's house. Davis is there. Now they have a team of 3, and now it's said explicitly that this is a mixed Bonspiel. It's not open. It is mixed, so they need another woman to play on this team with Emma, Davis, and Oscar. So they decide to call Myrtle.
Yeah, Myrtle is one of these characters in Corner Gas that we see from time to time.
Yes.
A townie.
Yep.
And Myrtle Myrtle's distinguishing characteristics are that she's very old
Yeah.
and talks very slowly.
Yes. Yeah. So Emma gets on the phone with Myrtle, says that, we hope you're on your feet soon. We're thinking about you. Clearly she can't play. Oscar says, so is she in?
So she's in?
Just to reaffirm that he's an idiot. And we find out that Myrtle has just gotten a new hip. Oscar has a beautiful line that says, that woman is constantly getting new hips. Whenever there's a new model, she needs to get it. Emma says that she thinks Myrtle is addicted to the painkillers, which is a joke that maybe not fly today. And we see Myrtle high on painkillers in the hospital, saying that she doesn't need to take a tent when they go to Saturn because there's a cave there.
So here's the direct quote.
Yeah, go for it.
Found. And the moon farthest from Jupiter has a cave on it, so there's no reason to bring a tent.
Yeah, so Myrtle's just hopped up out of her mind.
Myrtle's let out of it, yeah. Now, Sean, what day of the week do you think this is where they're recruiting their teams?
I'm thinking that it's Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
This is my guess.
For the Saturday Bonspiel.
Yeah. That as it came up, as it was now immediate, Brent was like, I'm out. And, because he's not the most proactive guy in the world, so he probably would have delayed it a little bit. He didn't want to talk about it straight away. Yeah. And now the Bonspiel's here. I got to have this conversation, and that prompts the breakup.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So now we have a situation where both Leroy teams have 3 players and need a woman. So we go back to the gas station. Hank and Wanda and Brent are talking. Where can we find a woman who isn't already on a team and doesn't have a new hip? And they do a nice fake out where Brent says, Lacey, can you think of anybody? And Lacey, we don't know, is there before this. She's reading a magazine, says, no, can't think of anybody. Goes back to the diner, which is connected to the gas station. And Wanda and Brent realize, we can ask Lacey. And the button on this short little scene is there's a customer in the gas station who is trying to buy some stuff. And comes to the counter. Hank is standing there and says, just give me $10 and they'll ring it up later.
Yeah.
Which is a great through line for the rest of the show, too. So then we cut to the diner, and Oscar, Emma are there, and Wanda and Brent are there, and they're trying to convince Lacey to play on their team.
Yes. They say, she doesn't even have to be good. It can be literally anybody in town. So now there's competition, right? The only woman in town that we can think of to play on our team.
Yeah, there's a great moment here where Oscar says, will you play for our team? And then Wanda says to Brent, you got to up the ante. And he goes, will you play for our team, please? That's how we're upping the ante. Which actually in Dog River world, saying please actually does seem like upping the ante.
Yeah.
Is that a word you hear a lot on the show?
No, I thought it was great.
Yeah, great line. And then we see that Lacey starts to make some jokes. She doesn't make jokes. This is the act break. So Wanda says, way to up the ante. And then boom, act break, first commercial.
Yeah.
So we come out of the commercial, and now Lacey starts making jokes where she says, I don't know anything about curling. All I know is that they're sweeping, and I do enough cleaning around here. And this is the start of Lacey making dumb curling jokes.
Yes, the dumbest curling jokes. But they all want her to be on their team, so they all laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another joke she makes, they say, it's just throwing rocks at houses. And she goes, throwing rocks at houses? Is that legal? Now, Scott, is there a worse joke about curling that is not used in this episode? Or did they max out on the terrible curling jokes? The obvious, awful curling jokes?
I've got to say they maxed out on the obvious ones.
Yes.
Yeah. You could maybe come up with something about between the sheets. Right. Somewhere, but no, they've got the big ones.
Yeah, I think the only other one is just go to any sort of rec Bonspiel and see the names, the punny names,
yeah.
Which I realize is a weird thing to criticize given that our show's name is Game of Stones. to criticize punny curling things. But yeah, you see, I swept with your wife a lot. That's a common one. I think that's probably the biggest one. Sheet show certainly is there. Yeah, throwing rocks at houses. I've seen sometimes like we throw rocks at houses. Yeah, there's some standard ones.
Oh yeah, yeah, and here there's going to be more in the Bonspiel, but yeah, they've run the gamut of the big ones.
Yeah. So so Lacey is not committed to anybody. We hop over to the rink where they're practicing, and Oscar says, now that Brent's gone, Emma, I want you to play third. Emma says that she can't. She plays a power game, and to play third, you need fine touch. And then we see Emma throw a rock. And Scott, my immediate thought when I saw Emma throw a rock is that she went to the Paul Gross School of Curling.
Oh, she was much worse than Paul Gross.
No, but just on that last one where, like, how high. You remember at the end of the movie?
It really high.
Like that. Yeah. She's doing that.
She's got a huge backswing and no slide.
Yeah, she's like bowling.
It is pretty much bowling, yeah. And, fair enough, right? Older lady maybe can't get down like she used to. It's the actress, Janet Wright.
Yes.
Yeah, so, she's working with the skills that she has.
Yeah, so she's a chucker. So then we cut to just outside the police station. Karen is walking down the street with the cup, and Hank wants to touch it.
He's so creepy and is like, can I just touch it a little bit? Can I?
And what I love about this scene too is that Karen is saying no, like, get away from me, and then Hank offers her $10.
The $10 that he just got, right?
Yeah. So we have that as Karen starts to get harassed over the cup. Head back to the rink, and Davis gives some advice to Oscar that if you want Emma to throw the rock in a more controlled manner, the key is to be nice to her and make her happy.
Yes, because when she gets angry, she throws harder.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Davis figures this out, and what I like about it too is that when he's like, you just got to compliment her, Oscar says, oh, you got to trick her. Like, but the thought of giving a compliment to his wife never occurred to him.
Yeah. A tricker, I like it.
Yeah. So Davis has come up with this strategy. Then we hop over to the diner real quick. Hank goes to Lacey and gives her $10 to pay off part of his tab. And Hank says that now you're going to be on our team. I've given you this $10, and you're going to be on our team. And then he says, oh, do you have any great jokes? Brent says you have good jokes. And she makes a joke about, like, curling your hair or, like, the game curling. Now, obviously that's a bad joke, but what's weird, Scott, is that Brent didn't say this to Hank in front of Lacey. So why would Brent say to Hank that Lacey has good curling jokes?
Well, Brent's a pretty sarcastic guy, right?
Right.
So maybe he said to Hank, like, oh boy, why don't you ask her some of her curling jokes? Ugh. You get a real kick out of those.
Yeah.
And then Hank stands there not reacting at all.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? Don't you like jokes? No, like, that wasn't a joke. That's not funny.
Yeah. So very confused. But Lacey, this sort of cements that Lacey at least now is going to go to the rink. So we hop back to the rink, and we see Oscar implementing the strategy of be nice to Emma and get her to throw the rock softer. And one of the things that I like about this scene is that Emma is immediately suspicious, doesn't know why this is happening, and says, the last time you complimented me, Brent was born. Which is a very good line.
Very good. And Brent is established as a man. I don't know if he's established as being 40 yet in the series, but at least around that.
Yes. Yeah.
That age.
For sure. We also see Brent in this scene as he's there practicing and says to his dad, I'll see you on the colored circles. And this is his threat. Now, I don't know, Scott, is there a way to sort of threaten somebody, like the same way you would in other sports, like I'll see you here. Like, is there a way to do that in curling?
Yeah, something like I'll let my rock sliding ability speak for me.
Right. Like, like the only thing I could think of is more terrible puns, which again I realize I did a show in which I created a bunch of ridiculous stupid puns, but you'd be like, you can't hack it with me or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it would be an accident if I said something like that. You know?
Yeah, it's not a sport that lends itself to angry taunts.
No. And maybe that's why we still shake hands all the time.
Wow, will we though? Do we?
Well, maybe not anymore.
Yeah, no. So then we hop back to the diner. Karen is going inside the diner, and we see that people really want to touch the cup. There's a recurring character, a woman who's in a lot of the episodes. She really wants to touch the cup. She says no. Then we see Wes, who runs the liquor/insurance store. He wants to take photos of the cup, and Karen sort of puts him in an arm bar type thing and says, no, I have to do this. And Wes says, I just want photos. And you see in Karen's mind, she is very intrigued. He has touched on Karen's ego.
Yes. One of the traits of Karen's personality is that she likes to be the center of attention.
Yes, 100%. So with that, we hop back to the rink. Lacey tells Brent that that she will join his parents' team with Oscar, Emma, and Davis. Says that it's all about loyalty. They asked first, and that the parents would be loyal to her in the same situation, which is a nice little tee up for a future joke. But what's really interesting to me in this scene, Scott, I don't know if you noticed it, but Brent and Hank are on the ice, and it's really foggy behind them in this rink.
Yes.
But
So go ahead.
But it's the only scene where they're in the rink where it's this foggy.
Yeah, well, so the scenes inside the rink were filmed in Regina.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you if you knew which club it was because you used to live there.
Yes, it didn't appear to be. It didn't look like the club I played in.
Okay. So because they filmed during the summer.
Yeah.
And so they had to use a shooting location in Regina where there was ice installed. And in the summertime, it can be super foggy.
Yeah, but why just this scene?
So maybe that scene was just filmed on one day. And then
everything else was from a different day?
Yeah.
Maybe. It just struck me as very strange. Also, I mean, it's not the most humid of places in Regina. So when I didn't see fog in some of the other scenes, even on the glass or anything, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's really dry there. It's a dry heat, Scott. I don't know if you've ever heard that about the prairies. And when I saw the fog, I was really taken aback. I was like, oh my God, like, was there just like a freak 20-minute rainstorm in the middle of the day when they were shooting this particular scene and then it all went away?
Yeah, I mean, it might have been.
Definitely possible. So we have that fog scene, very strange. So we go back to the diner. Karen is enjoying the photos of herself with the cup, and she says she makes a joke where she says duty calls. Very strange. I actually kind of felt that joke was out of place.
It was a little out of place, yeah. I've got her exchange here where she's looking at the photos and she goes, "Ooh, I look strong and authoritative, yet still soft and feminine. Don't you think?" She says this to Wes.
Yeah.
And Wes just replies, "My arm hurts." After she put him in the arm bar,
Yeah, and yet he still took all these photos of her.
Yeah, and then they say, "Oh, how about another photo with the cup?" And oops,
Cup's
we
gone.
can't find the cup. It's gone.
Yes. So a very uncertain future for the cup as Karen is searching for it. And with that, we go back to the rink where Lacey tells Emma and Oscar that she will be on the team, talks about sweeping, and then says, "Oh, I might do some mopping and dusting as well."
We only need her for one day. Keep laughing.
But then
There's
Go
before
ahead.
we get
Yeah.
on to the next part, Sean. There, so she does say like, "I'm going to join Team Leroy,"
Yep.
and they're like, "Which Team Leroy?" So this sort of this is a bit of a joke on how curling rinks are just named after the last name of whoever the
Right.
skip is, right?
Yes.
So they've got Team Leroy, and then Brent decides he's going to be Team Leroy, and Wanda suggested, what about the next generation? And he goes, there might be a copyright issue with that.
Yeah. Which is a really
So
good
the-
joke.
Yeah, trying to decide, we've seen in Saskatchewan, especially the last few years at the Briar, or at the Tankard rather, there's been, fathers and sons and brothers all skipping different teams. So you got to take a close look at who the first name is when you're trying to decide who's playing.
Yes. Very, very true.
Yeah.
It is a nice little inside curling joke there.
Mm-hmm.
But then, Scott, just like Willis Reed in the NBA Finals, Myrtle bursts through the door and the crowd goes wild. It's Myrtle. Myrtle's here.
Myrtle's here, and like seeming to have no ill effects from her recent hip replacement.
She's fine. It's great.
She's just strolling in like. doo-doo-doo. I wonder if she's still hopped up on the painkillers.
Yeah, she can't feel it.
She can't feel it, so might as well curl.
And with
This
that,
is something I think we should show to all those curlers out there that are playing with a stick. They think I can't do it.
Yep.
I can't get down anymore. Here's some inspiration
Be
for
like
those of you
Myrtle.
looking to get back.
Yep.
Hashtag be like Myrtle.
We need more Myrtle in our life.
Yeah.
And that is the end of Act 2. So we go to commercial. We come back from commercial, Scott. We are now outside the rink. Davis is there, as we mentioned this scene. This is where it's a beautiful day outside, very clear, lush grass and the trees and everything. And Karen tells Davis that she has lost the cup, but actually not that she's lost it, Scott, that she is unable to ascertain the whereabouts at this juncture.
At this juncture, yes.
Yes. Very nice, very nice turn of phrase.
Very, very good turn of phrase. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's her plan now?
Doesn't have one at this point.
Doesn't have one.
Doesn't seem to have one. It's just
Seems like she's gonna go back and look for it.
yeah, that seems to be the only plan that she has. So she's stuck. We go back inside. Brent says that he's going to skip. Lacey makes a joke about not showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, this actually reminded me one time, way back when, almost a decade ago now, I used to play on a team where you'd skip till you lose. And I was talking to somebody one week about something, and we were talking, and I just said, talking about the team, and then I said, but I skipped last week. And she's like, why? Like, you didn't want to go? And so it was an actual real world example of a terrible joke.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird.
So
Yeah.
somebody actually thought that.
Yeah, where's Ashley? Thought that.
Okay, makes sense.
So they make these. This is this great scene of this back and forth between the team. This little banter where she's like, "Oh, what, you guys don't like jokes?" And you're like, "I love jokes." Oh, did somebody make a joke? It's this great sort of who's on first, quick little banter between the other three players.
Yeah. That's very corner gas.
Yeah, those sort of quick back and forths. Then we go back. Karen and Davis are now in the arena, and Karen is upset. She says everybody loved Archie Clavette. What are we going to do? And then Davis says nobody liked him. He was a liar, racist, thief, and bigamist.
But he was really good at curling.
And you got to respect that. It's this great sort of commentary on life in this town.
And a little bit about sort of of history, right? And
Yeah.
public history which you know a lot about naming things after terrible people.
Yeah.
Why don't you just name it after somebody else?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way too where she's like, I thought you said everybody respected him. And he says respected, and Davis says respected his curling. Like, he was a great curler, and you got to respect that.
You gotta respect that.
Yeah, so it's sort of this great sort of reveal that the Clavette Cup, people like the cup, but the guy, it's like the hell with the guy. Really good. Then we go out on the rink. Lacey has thrown a rock and starts screaming, "Have a heart."
Have a heart. Have a heart. And the two sweepers, instead of sweeping, stop,
Yeah.
turn around, look at her, and say, "I think you mean hurry hard."
Yeah. Has anyone
And-
ever said anything to you while you're sweeping that has made you stop sweeping?
Other than whoa or stop sweeping?
Yeah, but like,
no.
like just completely stopped where you are. You can't follow the rock anymore.
I may have started laughing so hard that I had to stop sweeping once.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I used to, in Regina, actually, there was a guy who would like bellow, from his gut, like when he was like the hurry hard stuff. He didn't play with me, but one time there was like this fun spiel. It was mix up the teams, and not only would he do it, but he would follow the rock. So he'd be right on top of you with this deep guttural like, and I was used to it from across the rink, but having it right on top of me, I couldn't take it. Like, halfway down the ice, I was laughing too hard. I had to stop.
You are very famous for not liking when people follow the rock.
Yeah, stop it. It doesn't help.
Yeah, like, get out of here.
Yeah, give me my space.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
I'm not supposed to listen to you anyway. And two,
Exactly.
You're being over top of me. It feels like some sort of weird power play. Like, no. Like, get out. If you follow it, I'm actually more inclined to sweep less hard.
less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really don't like it when the follow person will then like hop around and like join the third or the skip as like a double line call. Like, no. Throw, stay in the hack, be done with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of that at all. Didn't you though, Scott? You got to sweep a rock for Russ Howard once.
I did, yeah.
Didn't you
Yeah,
say
when
that
he-
was kind of an experience when he was screaming at you?
It was crazy. Yeah, it was sort of like amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Right.
When you hear like the legendary voice yelling at you to sweep it, and we put it on the lid, so it felt even good doing that.
Nice. So you had a perfect judge.
Yeah. That was in Vancouver. He came out to film something for CBC and toured our club, and myself and one of the other ice makers were there and got to sweep his rock. So
Nice.
yeah, pretty fun.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. So this rock, like, we'd have no idea what happened to it, right?
Presumably, you don't see it after they stop sweeping. So presumably it was a hog.
Yeah, because they probably had to hurry hard, but they
Yeah, but they
weren't.
having a heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then we switch games, and Oscar is trying to compliment Emma by saying that her jacket brings out the green in her eyes, and she says after 35 years of marriage, he doesn't know that my eyes are blue, and whips the rock down the ice.
Yeah, so her soft touch seems to have disappeared.
Yes, and Oscar's compliment plan not really going the way he wants it.
Not really.
No. So then we hop back over. Brent's team has lost, Scott, and Hank says that that's because Lacey bounced every rock she threw off the side because she thought it was like shuffleboard.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we just saw her throw one down the middle of the sheet.
And I didn't see dividers between the sheets.
No.
So Maybe Hank's been taking some of Myrtle's pills and seeing things a little off kilter.
Yes. So with that, Brent's team has lost, and presumably, Scott, this is a single elimination event.
Well, I was trying to decide how this was going, but yes, they've lost, and Lacey is confused as to why Brent is shaking the hands of the other team.
Yes.
And Hank says, because we lost, because you were terrible.
Yeah.
So
what's weird about that too is that Hank and Wanda are standing there as Brent's shaking hands. They're making no movement to go shake the hands.
Yeah, they're probably too crushed from their stunning defeat in the Bonspiel for the Clavet Cup. That it's going to take them a minute to get over it.
It will, yeah. So with that, we see Davis on the phone with Karen, and Karen is back at the police station and looking in the file cabinet and finds a bunch of extra Clavet Cups.
Yeah, and my favorite joke is that Davis, he says, "Oh yeah, I've lost one or two, down through the years, so I got some backups. They're 2 for $10 in the city."
It's so good. I wrote that down too. That line is so great. Where it's just like, yeah, you can get 2 for $10 in the city. It's so brilliant. That callback to the earlier reference to how cheap the trophy looks.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good.
Just great. So we hop back to the arena. It's time for the championship game. We find out that the Oscar Emma Davis team has won. Brent is there to offer his best wishes to his parents. He has an idea that Emma, because she has this great power game, she can throw last. But the team, Scott, is very skeptical that this would be permitted by the rules.
Yeah. Really? Can we do this? I don't think it's allowed. But it is allowed, and we have a cut to
Great cut.
Furby and Nedouin.
Yeah, it's a great cut. Furby and Nedouin in the arena. So they were in Regina for something, obviously, and they're in the same space. And I think Randy Furby's line is a little better than Dave Nedouin's line.
So what do they say, Sean?
So the question is asked in the scene, can we do that? Cut to Furby and Nedouin. Furby says, Brent says, just ask Randy Furby. And Furby goes, yeah, we do that.
And then Nedouin says, and we won 3 Briars.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a nice cameo. If you're not expecting it, it's great, and it's one of these things that the show does frequently. The best ones I think are with Jan Arden, but this is I think is second.
Yeah, Jan Arden's always good. I like the one where they cut to the then premier of Saskatchewan, and he's pointing to the province and saying like, that's a rectangle. It's a perfect shape.
It's just, yeah. Some of the people who they got to do is great. My favorite one with Jan Arden is where they're talking about running, and Wanda I think says, "Oh, I can't listen to Jan Arden when I run," and they cut away and it's Jan Arden running with Lacey, just talking. It's brilliant. So great Furby Nedouin cameo. Then we.
Now, Sean, before we move on, what do you think of the strategy of having Emma, who's famous for her power, throw last rock? Doesn't seem to make any sense.
No, you would think that you would want to move her down to the second position, which is where she clearly played before. It is a strange strategy move to have the person who can only throw hard throw last.
And you're taking advice from this guy who went out to make his own team.
Yeah.
Was obviously bad, lost in the Bonspiel, was a big part of the team that was 287-1 coming into this event, and their team presumably has won a few games to get into the championship. So I would say, hey, loser Brent, get out of here with your ideas.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Like,
Right?
it doesn't make any sense.
I'd say Brent's the problem.
Yeah, they're winning without him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So anyway.
it's a very good point. Yeah, Brent doesn't come off great here.
No.
No. So we have a quick little montage of the game. What's great about this montage, Scott, is the continuity of the montage. We see a shot by the other team. The person throws an intern out of her hand, and it's an intern all the way down the ice.
Oh.
Yeah, really made me happy. Same thing.
Learned something.
Yeah, we see Davis throw, same thing. He throws an intern, and it's an intern all the way down the ice. It's a beautiful thing to see. A little curling continuity.
You'll love it when you see it.
Yeah, and now we go right to the end of the game. And Scott, this is my favorite scene in the entire episode. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole series. What happens now?
Okay.
And it's brilliant. I've
Walk
written it
me
out.
through it.
I've written it out. Do you have any of the lines written down of this?
I do not.
Okay. So they're all in the stands watching the game. Hank says, Emma just has to make this shot and they win the game. Wanda, I know that. I've been sitting here watching the whole game with you. Lacey, yes, but this information is helpful to me and anyone else who hasn't been able to observe the entire match. Which I just love. And then Hank, yeah. So to summarize, if Emma makes this shot, they will win the Clavette Cup, which will be the dramatic conclusion to these events. And then Wanda, kind of upset, yells, "Did everyone get that?" to the whole crowd. But it's so funny to go right from the montage into this, and it happens in every sports movie, right? Where someone's like,
Yes.
"Oh, if this happens, they win." And I just love the commentary of the person next to that person saying, "I know that. I've been watching." And Lacey's line of, "But this information is helpful to me and anyone else who hasn't been able to observe the entire match." It's so good. It's just that I wish I was smart enough to write that line, because it makes me so happy every time I hear it.
It's very, very good. Very breaking the fourth wall.
Yes, it's just so good. And Hank's line too, which will be the dramatic conclusion to these events. Oh, it's great. It's just brilliant. So we go. It's now time for the last shot. Emma's throwing it because they've taken Brent's advice. And Oscar is trying to give her a compliment. Davis says, no, like she's got to throw a hit. So he says that a broom is stupid and that he broke her new blender by trying to make homemade cement, which is weird.
It seemed funny how fast he had things that he knew would make her angry.
Right, yeah.
Right,
Well,
like he didn't have to think. He had them right away.
Right, well, the broom one makes sense. It's a callback to the first scene of the episode where he didn't like the broom then. So that's helpful. Yeah, the homemade cement is really strange. And she makes a run back right to the top of the button.
Yeah. Yeah, and she had to stick the run.
Yeah, so which is weird because earlier in the scene, Oscar says, all right, all you have to do is clear the house.
That's right.
But no.
No.
That's not what had to happen. She had to stick a run.
Yeah, so they were up by 1 and scored 1. Sean, did you notice that this was a 10-end game?
Oh, no, I didn't notice that. Was it really?
Yeah, on the scoreboard, it had numbers all the way up to 9.
Wow.
And then, so they were up 1 after 9, playing a 10th end.
Wow, with the hammer.
In a one-day Bonspiel.
Well, those Saskatchewan folks, if you're going to be playing, this is obviously the springboard to the Olympics. So you got to be playing those 10-end games.
Yeah, so pretty big time game, big time shot.
Yeah, great job by Emma. So does this validate, though, Brent and his strategy?
Well, I would still argue no, in that Brent still is 2, maybe 88-1 now in his curling career. If we're talking single elimination, I think Brent was the problem on the team.
But his idea put them in position to win.
Yes, it did. But his earlier idea was that he be the skip.
Right. But that was Lacey's fault that he didn't win when he was the skip.
Yeah, always blame the lead for
Playing
one
eight.
year.
They're playing 8-on-6 apparently.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So that is the end of the act. We come back for the quick little outro to the show, and we see the mayor, Fitzy. He's there to award the trophy. What's weird though, Scotty says, all right, it's time to award the Clavette Cup, and there's this little like podium type thing for it, a pedestal almost where it would be, and he looks at it, is like, oh, where is it? They set up the entire prize table, have the team that won there. The mayor's there ready to present it, and only now they're realizing that the cup's not there. What?
Oh wait, we don't have the cup.
Like, what? That is
so
the
fun.
most confusing thing in this episode to me.
Yeah, convenience for TV.
So Karen runs in with the cup, puts it down. Fitzy awards it, and Oscar immediately, the discerning fellow that is Oscar, immediately realizes that it is not the real Clavette Cup.
Yeah, he can tell the difference.
Yeah, so Davis screams, "Get her!" to everyone to get Karen. Lacey's like, "Oh, I recognize that," and full circle in the episode, she's the one who found it at the diner, and now the original Clavette Cup is being used for bacon grease. And Davis responds by saying, "Get her."
Get her.
Yeah.
I like how the cop is inciting violence.
Yeah, right. And Lacey says, "Oh, come on, have a heart." And there you go.
Freeze frame and credits.
Yeah. And there's your episode. Hurry Hard. Episode 211.
Yes, really good episode. I think let's compare it to our curling movie breakdown that we had on Men with Brooms.
Okay.
There
might be the same number of scenes.
There might be the same number of scenes. It's true. The curling continuity
better. Yeah, I think with this one, we're not quite sure of the timeline. Is it a single elimination event? Is it all taking place on one day? Like that, we're not quite sure about. But the same is true of the Golden Broom. We have no idea what the format of that event is either, or how long it takes to play it. Is it round robin? It's obviously not single elimination. We have no idea the format of either of these two Bonspiels. The tiebreak for me is that the turns are consistent. Now we don't see as many shots here, but the turns are consistent. Even when Emma's sweeping with her corn broom, that is pretty realistic. The person who they got to throw the rock for the opponent had pretty good form.
I'd agree.
Overall, I think in terms of the continuity, this is much better.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you. Did we see any of the core 8 throwing a rock? I believe either Brent or Hank had one slide with a rock that I was seeing.
We see Davis in the montage.
Okay, maybe it's Davis.
Yeah, he's a little wobbly. We see Oscar kick out, but we don't see him deliver.
Okay.
And then, of course, we see Emma throw multiple times.
Right. I meant somebody who actually slid out.
No, I think Davis is the only one we get a full delivery for.
Okay. Now, this is probably because
none of
these
them
actors don't play.
Yeah, and you can kind of sense that too, right? When Hank is sliding and Wanda's walking down the ice as they're sweeping, you can tell that neither of them are regular curlers at the very least.
No. But a fitting tribute, I think, to the game in the prairies. I want to hear from any Saskatchewan people out there, if anybody knows what rink that is.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know too.
The interior, I'd like to know that, and I'd like to know if they feel happy about the way Saskatchewan was represented, not only in this episode of Corner Gas, but all of Corner Gas.
As definitely people love it out there. At least when I was out there, which was just after the show ended, or no, sorry, middle of the show. People were all in.
2011 it ended, I think, or 9.
It's 9. 04 to 09.
Yeah. Great show. Lots of fun.
How would you now? Obviously, we we're not going to sort of rank it within all the episodes, but if you did like assign it a grade for enjoyment level.
For enjoyment level, I think I'd give this one like a B+ or an A-.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the better episodes. It's certainly above average, but the average on this series is pretty high. So
I think it's pretty high. What I like the most about it is there's so many jokes. And like you described with the number of scenes, right? A lot of cutaways coming back. I've watched the animated, and I find it also really funny. And one of the things Brent talked about was that with the animated, they were able to do some of the crazy cutaways that you can't do in live action.
Yeah.
You know, like they could cut away to a kid having like a rocket attached to them, rocketing up a tree or something.
Right.
So overall, the experience is a little weird because you're hearing the familiar voices, but the image isn't the same.
Yeah, but
that said,
the
I like
essence is the same.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty good. And the movie, Sean, I went to the theater to see the movie. Did you see this in theaters?
I did see it in theater, yeah.
Yeah, and so one of the big things that they did at the theater was they had your friend, Del Barber, on playing the national anthem before the show.
Yeah.
So on the theater
super
screen,
exciting.
like, everybody stood up and sang "O Canada." Oh, it was fun.
Yeah, the only thing that was strange, I didn't know. I mean, I know Del Barber. I've met him a few times. Friend might be a little much, but what I was surprised that Del Barber's a Manitoba guy.
Yeah.
And they got him instead of a Saskatchewan guy. I mean, they're both prairie provinces, but that was the only thing that was surprised. But it was super exciting when it was like, oh, Del Barber. It's like, Del Barber. I know him. I know that guy. Yeah. It was very exciting.
Yeah, I've seen Del Barber a couple times too. I would recommend it to anybody out there.
Yeah, he's a very good artist. And so the movie was enjoyable. I like the animated series too. But certainly if you've never seen the show and you're still listening to us, one, thank you. Two, I would highly recommend this episode. This is a fun episode. If you like curling, even if you don't know the show, this is a fun one to watch for the curling part of it because there's no other stories. This is a 100% curling-centric episode.
Yeah, for sure. This is a good one. And I mentioned before, it's available on Crave TV in Canada, and it's available on Amazon in the States, I think. Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so you can certainly look it up, and maybe even some third-party stuff. CTV Comedy Channel, if you have access through your cable, you can watch the episodes on demand through that as well.
Is that how you watch them, Sean?
I did not watch it that way, no. I have the DVDs. You got them for me, Scott.
Yes, I also have the DVDs. Very good set.
Yes. So I think that'll do it for this episode. A wonderful discussion of Corner Gas Season 2, Episode 11. Hurry hard. If you know of any other curling-centric television programs and you want to hear more like this, I would love to break them down. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to watch shows and break them down.
We broke down a 22-minute episode into about an hour, so
well, there's a lot going on. A
lot going on.
Really gotta get into the minutia of it. So if there's any other things that we might not know about that are curling specific, please do let us know. One tiny bit of curling news that did come out this week: Shorty Jenkins is canceled, Scott.
Yes, the event, not the person.
Right. Yes, Shorty Jenkins, the late great Shorty Jenkins, has not been canceled, but the event, is not going to take place. So we'll keep an eye on any other announcements and news coming out, as it seems like some events are starting to consider what's going to happen in the fall. We're also getting some more information about what clubs are going to do across the country. I have some strong thoughts about some proposals that have been put forth, but we'll leave that for another day. But at some point, we will start to address some of the news that is coming out. But that day was not today. because we wanted to watch this episode, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that I appreciate you letting us do this this week, Sean. This was the one that I had time to prepare for.
Yeah, yeah. All you do is watch the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll do it for us this week. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. As I said, if you have any ideas for the show, you can please get in touch, GameOfStonesPodcast@gmail.com. And if you have not yet, please do subscribe to the show wherever it is you get your podcast. Do the likes, the ratings, the comments, all that stuff. Helps keep the show going, helps other people find the show. And you can follow along with us on social media, on Twitter and Instagram @GameOfStonesPod, and check us out Mondays at 5 Eastern. We're doing Instagram Lives with the guys from Rocks Across the Pond, and had a lot of fun on Monday doing that with them. We did a show and tell thing of sports memorabilia that we have, so I think we're going to keep that going with them. So check us out on Instagram on Monday afternoons. So we'll be back with you. Yes. Good contribution, Scott.
I think you're on a delay.
Okay. So we'll be back with you again next week. But until then, stay safe, everybody. Keep your brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.